One of the things that is very important to me this year is human trafficking. I became aware of this last year at the conference I attended. They had a speaker there who talked about human trafficking and the fact that it exists right here in every hometown in Mississippi. This prompted me to bring in an individual who seems to have knowledge of the issue, and as a result of that, I had a summit on human trafficking last October, this October. And arising out of that, we became aware of a few issues that exist that we can do better on. In Mississippi, we currently have a grade of a B by this organization that grades human trafficking in states and how strong they are on human trafficking. I think they measure us on 6 different areas. 3 of the areas we do very well in, the other 3 we could stand some improvement. One of those areas is to try to protect young people who are caught in this issue from being prosecuted for any crimes that they could be charged with. So we're looking to maybe change the definitions, some of the definitions, to protect these children who are caught in this situation, and as well to provide training. There are a lot of people out there who have come into contact with these individuals: school teachers, nurses, truckers, policemen, firemen, so on and so forth. What we would like to do is provide an avenue of training for these people so they can begin to identify young children who are caught in this area. So one of the big emphasis we're going to have this year in the House is trying to make improvements in the area of human trafficking. This organization called Shared Hope is the one that issued the grades. I contacted the lady there and I said, tell us, in your opinion, what we need to do to improve, to move from a B to an A. She provided her thoughts, and we're going to try to implement some of those. I think that's something that everyone can get behind. I think it will work to help hopefully save the lives of a lot of young children who are caught in this scourge. I don't know that we realize just how prevalent it is, and I did not know this. I thought it was something that existed in other places, but it's not. It's right here in the Jackson area and in many small towns around our state. So that's probably going to be the top issue for us this year, is trying to make inroads and to improve the area of human trafficking, or stop human trafficking, I should say. Other items, mental health courts is something we've passed in the House many times. That's another issue we're going to come back with again. I think it's passed pretty much overwhelmingly, if not unanimously, each time we brought it up. Something that will help the mentally ill. I don't know why it has not made it through the other end of the building, but that is going to be another issue that we're going to bring back again this year and try to pass a mental health court bill.
What is it about that bill that's important to you?
Well, it just creates a separate court system, a judicial system for those who are mentally ill. I think right now what you have, as I understand it, you have a lot of people who, when they are in that situation, they just send them to jail because they don't know what else to do with them. This would provide a venue or an avenue of relief to try to get them some help versus just sticking them in jail. So it would be something that is desperately needed, and I think it's something everybody can get behind. Another item is the rural broadband issue. As you know, that's a hot topic of conversation. We are searching right now for a way to try to bring the parties together that are involved in that. There are a lot of different entities that have an interest there, and we're trying to evaluate exactly how to make that happen. So that'll be another topic of conversation. And then on the education front, there's a lot of different things that we could probably do there. We've talked about a brain drain bill that we passed, I think, unanimously last year to try to help keep students in state. I think we're going to come back to that one again. That may have been what, yeah, we call it the brain drain bill. Trey Lamar was the sponsor of that. It's the same bill. We want to try to fill the teacher supply fund, which has not been funded fully, I think, in quite some time. We have made improvements in that fund, as I understand it, and have doubled the amount that has been put there, but I think there's room to add to that. We've talked about trying to eliminate some of the subject area tests, which one of the things we hear repeatedly is there's too much testing going on, So we're trying to find some relief there.
Which subject area test do you want to eliminate?
Well, the one that, as I understand it, the only one the state of Mississippi implements is the history subject area test. The others that exist are implemented by the federal government. So that would be the one that we would hopefully target. Teachers and our administrators complain repeatedly about the excessive testing our students have to encounter. This is one way to give them some relief. When I was in school, you had a subject area test every Friday, you know? When you had that chapter exam and you didn't pass it, then you had to retake it or do something different.
But it's true that those tests were implemented to try to curb social promotion, wasn't it?
Why subject area tests were implemented?
I mean,
I wasn't here when it was implemented. I don't know the thought or the logic behind it. I think they are referred to many times as exit exams to try to make sure students learned what they were supposed to learn. But personally, I don't think we need them at all.
The governor had proposed a pay raise for teachers, $50 million, 2 years. Your thought on that? More, less, doable?
Well, as you know, 3 years ago, the House is the one that led on a teacher pay raise. So we clearly support our teachers. That's just going to be a function of revenues and money when we get hit down to March. I have said I don't want us to forget our state employees either. State employees have not had a raise in quite some time. So anything we do in that arena is going to be a function of dollars and whether or not revenues exist, but also I want to make sure that our state employees are not.
Do you think there's enough money projected to provide for teacher and employee pay raises in the coming year?
We are looking at that right now. We'll not know the answer to that until March.
So much of this conversation the last few years has centered around roads and bridges. So much of that was taken care of in the special session, but are there any additions to that or amendments to anything that we've already seen, or we'll kind of see where that lands?
I don't think there's anything on the horizon for a major legislation in that arena. We will, of course, continuously look at our needs around the state, and there may be some isolated things that we need to do. But as far as agenda items for the year, I don't see roads and bridges being a top topic like the ones that I have already mentioned.
What about on education, revamping the funding formula?
I don't see that being an item this year.
Why not?
Well, I think there's clearly some questions that existed on the other end of the building. We passed it on this end of the building. The other end did not. I don't yet know what those concerns are, but we're going to continue to address those.
You think it will come back up and go back over to the Senate side for actual action to get the job done, so to speak?
This year?
This coming session?
No, I don't see it coming up this year. We've not made it an agenda item on our end of the building.
Can you speak to the challenges that perhaps exist in an election year when you know folks are looking ahead to the election cycle and what that means for the work that's done here?
Well, as I've said repeatedly, not only to my caucus but others who've asked, it's not a year to do nothing. We're going to do something. We are sent up here to work, and just because it's an election year doesn't mean we can take a pass. We've got things that we've got to do. The items that I've talked to you about are the things that we have put on our agenda for the year. When I say our agenda as the leadership and as a Republican caucus, these are things that we want to see done. We think these are things that everyone can get behind. Don't see them as anything that should be controversial.
Does the caucus have an appetite for expanding the education scholarship accounts program this session?
That's not been put on the agenda. I'm sure there'll be discussions about that. The big issue there is what happened to it in the Senate last year. They were not able to bring it out of the committee. They were not even able to bring it up for a vote on the Senate floor. So that indicates a problem right there with that issue. And until they can demonstrate an ability to pass it on their end, I don't know that that's even an issue on our end.
With the lottery, is there anything structurally that has to be done through the legislature in terms of setting it up, approving?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. I think the lottery was passed in special session, and it was given to there was a board that was set up to run it, and I think it's just waiting to see how they get themselves up and running is the thing. But I'm not aware of anything legislatively that we have to do.
What, Mr. Speaker, there's a commission that's given a report on reforming public defender systems to the state legislature. Have you talked to anybody about that?
Glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that. That is one thing I forgot. I got my little list here, and I didn't refer back to it. Yes, that is something that is also on our agenda for the year's criminal justice reform. There are a lot of different angles to that. As you know, 3 or 4 years ago, we passed House Bill 585, which is a comprehensive reform measure there. There are still tweaks to be done to that, but we are in constant communications about that, and I've had conversations with my caucus about supporting some of that. There are a lot of different angles to that are still being worked out, but that will be an agenda item for us this year.
You know, the report that the commission turned in, a heavy overhaul of the public offender system would cost, they estimated another $4 million. Is that, have you taken that into account?
We haven't gone that far with our discussions. I'm just, as a general issue, I'm telling you, criminal justice reform, which would include that, will be something on our agenda for the year.
Any legislation, do you foresee any legislation touching on the topic of school safety? I know the governor had an
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. That is another issue that is important to me. It's something that I have put out there, is I want to see something done in the area of school safety. The governor had a task force that was put together. I went to at least one of those meetings. I had someone from my office in every meeting, and I've had 2 legislative members who've attended those meetings. They are going to come forward with their recommendations. Some of those I know may not be feasible, but some of them may be. We're going to take that and look at it. I have some ideas of my own about school safety that I want to implement, so that is another issue for us this year. We're going to be looking at what can we do in the arena of school safety.
A big issue last year was being able to have weapons on campus.
Right.
Certain people having the authority to use them with certain credentials.
Right.
You think that's going to come back up?
That has been a topic of discussion, and I've seen other states pass legislation on that very issue. I can't say that that would be an issue for us, but it's certainly something to be considered and evaluate whether that is workable or not.
Would you want a teacher with a gun in the classroom?
You know, I'm very pro-gun. I believe in our Second Amendment rights, and we have created an avenue for people to carry the enhanced carry weapon, which gives them the rights to carry that. So I don't know how that would work out. I don't know what these other states have done. I haven't read the legislation in other states as to how it actually is carried out, but certainly something to be considered. It's certainly one tool in the toolbox.
But the state is in a position where it may be again looking at a federal court takeover of its foster care system. What do you expect? Do you expect that to figure into legislative discussions, either in terms of funding or legislation?
I have not participated in any discussions to that effect, so I can't. As far as agenda items for next year, I can't say that that's on the agenda.